The air inside the Secret Service headquarters crackled with tension as former President Donald Trump strode through the doors, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. Flanked by a small entourage, he exuded an uncharacteristic quiet intensity that seemed to weigh down the room. His tailored suit fit perfectly, but there was something off about him, his jaw clenched tightly, his eyes scanning the space like a man on a mission. This wasn't the bombastic figure everyone knew. This version of Trump carried himself with purposeful restraint. "He's here," someone whispered nervously from behind a desk. Heads turned sharply toward the entrance, and for a moment, time froze. Every agent in the room froze mid-motion. Papers rustled faintly as one hand dropped them onto a table, forgotten. Another agent's pen hovered over a notepad, ink smudging where it had lingered too long. Their nervous glances darted between each other, silently asking, "What does he want? Why is he here?" "Sir," Agent Harris finally managed, stepping forward hesitantly, "we weren't expecting you." Trump didn't respond immediately. Instead, he scanned the faces around him, his expression unreadable. It was clear he relished their unease. It gave him control. But beneath the surface there was something else. A flicker of vulnerability masked by years of practiced confidence. Without breaking stride, Trump approached Director Reynolds, who stood stiffly near the center of the room. He pulled a sealed envelope from his inner jacket pocket, its edges crisp and pristine. The word "confidential" was scrawled across the front in bold black letters. "This will change everything," Trump said, his voice low but commanding. He placed the envelope into Reynolds' trembling hands, locking eyes with him for just a second longer than necessary before turning on his heel. "What do you mean?" Reynolds called after him, but Trump was already walking away, leaving silence and chaos in his wake. As soon as the heavy glass doors swung shut behind Trump, the room erupted into hushed whispers. "It's got to be corruption," muttered Agent Carter, leaning close to her colleague. "Why else would he bring it here?" "No way," another countered. "This smells personal. Maybe revenge against someone higher up." Reynolds stared at the envelope, his knuckles white as he gripped it tightly. "Whatever it is, we're sitting on dynamite." Within hours, news of Trump's mysterious visit broke online, sending shockwaves through social media. Hashtags like "Trump exposed" and "What did he do?" trend globally. Supporters hailed him as a whistleblower exposing hidden truths, while critics dismissed it as yet another publicity stunt. "I always knew he'd expose the deep state," tweeted at Patriot Voice 1776. Meanwhile, at Liberal Truth chimed in, "Same old tricks, just trying to stay relevant." The divide grew sharper with every passing minute, fueling endless debates and memes mocking or celebrating the enigmatic move. Back at Mar-a-Lago, Trump retreated to the privacy of his estate, ignoring calls from reporters and allies alike. Alone in his study, he poured himself a glass of scotch, staring out at the sprawling grounds bathed in golden sunlight. For now, the world could wait. Whatever came next, he knew would define his legacy, and perhaps save what little remained of his soul. Alone in his study, Trump sat slumped in a leather chair, the weight of his choices pressing down on him like an invisible force. Memories flooded back, shouting matches in boardrooms, promises broken to allies who once stood by his side, and decisions made with reckless bravado. Each memory was a shard of glass cutting deeper into his psyche. "I thought I was untouchable," he muttered under his breath, running a hand through thinning hair. The faces of those he'd alienated haunted him now more than ever. Friends turned foes, family members estranged, colleagues betrayed. Guilt gnawed at him relentlessly, a constant reminder that power came at a cost he hadn't fully understood until it was too late. Despite the glitz and glamour of his public persona, Trump felt increasingly hollow inside. Fame had been intoxicating, but its fleeting highs left him craving connection, a luxury he no longer seemed capable of maintaining. His phone buzzed incessantly with calls from advisors and loyalists, yet none offered the solace he craved. At night, when the world quieted, loneliness crept in like an unwelcome guest. He scrolled through old photos of happier times, family vacations, campaign rallies filled with cheering crowds, but they only deepened his sense of loss. "What's the point if you're alone at the top?" he whispered to himself, staring blankly at the screen. The next morning, Trump dialed a number he hadn't called in years. When Ivana answered, her voice carried a mix of surprise and guarded skepticism. "Donald? What do you want?" Her tone stung, but he pressed on. I need to talk, Ivana. About everything. They met later that day, seated across from each other in tense silence. Old wounds reopened as they revisited painful memories, their bitter divorce, missed opportunities for reconciliation, and lingering resentment over shared failures. You never cared about anyone but yourself, Ivana said sharply, tears welling up despite her efforts to stay composed. Now look where it's gotten you. Trump clenched his fists beneath the table, shame washing over him. For the first time, he allowed himself to see how much damage his ambition had caused, not just to others, but to himself. Back home, Melania paced the length of their bedroom, torn between loyalty and frustration. She loved him still, but his inability to confront his mistakes infuriated her. Why can't you let go of the past? She demanded during one heated exchange. You're destroying us. Trump looked away, unable to meet her gaze. It's not that simple, Melania. You don't understand what I've done or what I'm trying to fix. But Melania wasn't convinced. Her patience wore thin as days turned into weeks, leaving their marriage teetering on the edge of collapse. Meanwhile, Agent Harris wrestled with his own disillusionment. Once a devoted admirer of Trump's charisma and leadership, he now questioned whether the man he'd idolized even existed outside the spotlight. He played us all, Harris confided to a colleague during a rare moment of vulnerability. We thought we were protecting greatness, but maybe we were just enabling chaos. His conflicted feelings added another layer of tension to an already strained relationship, making every interaction with Trump fraught with unspoken judgment. Then came the leaks. Details about the envelope's contents spread like wildfire, implicating high-ranking officials in unethical practices. Public outrage reached fever pitch, with critics accusing Trump of hypocrisy, while supporters hailed him as a whistleblower. "This changes nothing," shouted a rival politician on live TV. "He's guilty too." Trump watched the coverage unfold, his jaw tightening. The backlash intensified, threatening to overshow any good intentions behind his actions. As revelations continued, former allies distanced themselves, fearing association with scandal. Feeling blindsided by his sudden transparency. "You should have told me," one close confidant said bitterly over the phone. "Instead, you dragged us all into this mess." Isolation closed in around Trump, amplifying his paranoia and self-doubt. Insomnia became his constant companion. Nights stretched endlessly as Trump lay awake, replaying conversations and second-guessing his decision to hand over the envelope. Was this redemption or ruin? He wondered aloud, though staring at the ceiling. Every shadow seemed sinister, every sound ominous. Paranoia consumed him, blurring the line between reality and fear. When videos of heated arguments between Trump and Melania surfaced online, the media frenzy exploded. Fans dissected every word, while critics used the footage to paint their narratives of dysfunction. "She deserves better," one commenter wrote. Another chimed in, "Classic Trump drama, always playing the victim." Melania refused to address the leaks publicly, but privately, she confronted him again. "Do you realize what you've done? Our lives are unraveling because of your ego." Trump sank onto the couch, defeated. The cracks in his world were widening, and he didn't know how to stop them. The room buzzed with anticipation as reporters jockeyed for position, microphones poised and cameras rolling. The Justice Department had called this press conference to address mounting public pressure over recent leaks implicating high-ranking officials in corruption scandals. But no one expected what happened next. Doors swung open dramatically, and all heads turned toward the entrance. Donald Trump strode in uninvited, his presence commanding yet unsettling. He bypassed security guards who hesitated to stop him, their shock evident. Reporters gasped audibly as he made his way directly to the podium, brushing aside aides who tried to intervene. "What is he doing here?" one journalist whispered hoarsely into her recorder. Trump ignored protocol entirely, gripping the edges of the podium like a man determined to take control of his fate, and perhaps the nation's. The stunned silence that followed was palpable. Without preamble or prepared remarks, Trump began speaking, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "I've made mistakes, grave ones," he admitted, shocking everyone present. "As president, I failed you. As a leader, I let pride blind me." His words hung heavy in the air, each sentence punctuated by the weight of accountability. "We cannot move forward without confronting the truth, not just about others, but about ourselves." His tone shifted from remorseful to resolute. That's why I'm here today, to demand accountability across every level of government." Reporters exchanged incredulous glances, pens scribbling furiously as they struggled to keep up with the unexpected confession. Trump paused mid-sentence, his composure faltering. For the first time in years, vulnerability cracked through his polished exterior. His voice wavered as he continued. "Fame, success, it hollowed me out. It left me disconnected, alone, and in my pursuit of greatness, I hurt people. People I love, people who trusted me." Tears welled up in his eyes, spilling down his cheeks unchecked. The room fell silent except for the faint click of camera shutters capturing the moment. This wasn't the brash billionaire or divisive politician the world knew. This was a man stripped bare by regret. "I'm sorry," Trump said softly, his gaze sweeping across the room before settling on the cameras broadcasting live worldwide. "To my family. For neglecting you when I should have been there. To the American people, for failing to live up to your trust." His apology resonated deeply, striking a chord with viewers tuning in from homes, offices, and social media feeds. Some scoffed, dismissing it as theatrics, while others felt a pang of empathy for the fractured figure standing before them. Melania watched from afar, her expression unreadable. Ivanka texted Eric, "Did Dad just say what I think he did?" Then came the bombshell. Trump leaned forward, gripping the podium tightly. "The documents I handed over, they weren't just evidence of corruption among officials. They're part of a larger plan to dismantle systemic rot within our institutions." He paused, letting the gravity of his words sink in. "But dismantling corruption starts with self-reflection. I couldn't ask others to confront their flaws if I refused to face my own." The revelation added layers of complexity to his motivations, forcing audiences to reconsider everything they thought they knew about him. By the time Trump stepped away from the podium, public perception had begun to shift. Social media erupted with hashtags like Trump Redemption and Accountability Matters. Supporters hailed him as courageous, while critics grudgingly acknowledged the sincerity behind his actions. "This changes things," a political analyst remarked on CNN. "Whether you agree with him or not, you can't deny the courage it takes to stand in front of millions and admit your failures." For better or worse, Trump had transformed himself overnight, from a polarizing villain into a reluctant hero whose boldness sparked national conversations about redemption, integrity, and the cost of seeking justice. The nation was split down the middle. Supporters hailed his press conference as a watershed moment, praising him for exposing corruption and owning his mistakes. Critics, however, dismissed it as another calculated move to stay in the spotlight. "He's finally showing some humanity," one supporter tweeted, while another countered, "Same old Trump, always playing the victim." News outlets scrambled to cover every angle, amplifying the divide. Pundits debated endlessly. Was this genuine accountability or just another act? Trump scrolled through his phone late that night, reading both praise and vitriol. Each comment felt like a punch to the gut, but he couldn't look away. The weight of public opinion bore down on him, leaving him restless. Late-night talk shows roasted him mercilessly. Comedian Seth Meyers quipped, "Looks like Trump finally found something he can't fake, tears." The audience erupted into laughter, but beneath the jokes lay an undeniable truth. People were talking about him again. By contrast, daytime television painted a different picture. On The View, Whoopi Goldberg remarked, "You can hate the man, but you have to respect the courage it takes to admit failure in front of millions." Her co-hosts nodded in agreement, sparking heated discussions among viewers. The media circus raged on, shaping perceptions in conflicting ways. For every jab, there was a nod of approval, a testament to the complexity of his actions. Social media became a battleground of memes and hashtags. One viral image showed Trump crying beside the caption, "Is this real life?" Another depicted him handing over the envelope with the text, "Plot twist, he's the hero now." Hashtags like Trump Exposed and Redemption Arc trended globally, reflecting the nation's divided sentiments. Fans defended his sincerity, while detractors accused him of orchestrating yet another spectacle. Amid the chaos, one thing was clear: no one could ignore what had happened. Overwhelmed by the whirlwind of reactions, Trump fled to Mar-a-Lago, craving solitude. The sprawling estate offered temporary refuge from the relentless scrutiny. He wandered its halls alone, replaying moments from the press conference in his mind. I did the right thing, he muttered to himself, though doubt lingered at the edges of his thoughts. Outside, reporters camped out, shouting questions he refused to answer. For now, silence was his only ally. Days later, Ivana arrived unannounced. They met in the garden, seated under the shade of palm trees. Awkwardness hung between them until Trump broke the ice. "I'm sorry, Ivana," he said softly, "for everything." Her eyes softened, years of pain surfacing. "It's not easy forgiving you, Donald, but maybe we can start over." They talked for hours, confronting shared regrets and lost opportunities. By the end, tears streamed down both their faces, a fragile step toward healing. Melania joined him later, her expression unreadable. "Why now?" she asked, her voice tinged with frustration. "After all these years?" "I don't know," Trump admitted. "Maybe because I finally realized how much I've lost." She hesitated, then sighed. "I'm proud of you for trying, but trust isn't rebuilt overnight." Her words stung, but they also gave him hope. Their relationship remained fragile, yet there was a glimmer of renewal, a chance to mend what years of neglect had broken. One evening, Agent Harris appeared at Mar-a-Lago, slipping past security unnoticed. "Sir," he began, his tone respectful, "thank you. What you've done, it sparked changes we desperately needed within the Secret Service." Trump nodded, surprised by the gratitude. "I didn't do it for recognition," he replied, though Harris's words eased some of the tension between them. Their meeting marked a tentative rebuilding of trust, a reminder that even fractured relationships could find common ground. Alone on the balcony overlooking the ocean, Trump reflected on his journey. Fame had once defined him, but now it felt like a cage. He vowed to focus on personal growth, to redefine his role not as a celebrity but as a catalyst for change. "This isn't the end," he whispered to himself. "It's just the beginning." With newfound resolve, he prepared to face whatever came next, ready to embrace vulnerability, confront challenges, and carve out a legacy rooted in authenticity. Months passed, and Donald Trump emerged as a man transformed. Gone was the brash bravado that once defined him, and in its place stood someone quieter, more reflective. He reached out to old allies he'd alienated, apologizing sincerely without expecting forgiveness. "I don't deserve it," he admitted during one phone call with a former colleague who had distanced himself after years of strained relations. "But I want to try." His humility surprised many, earning cautious respect from those who thought they knew him best. Each mended relationship felt like a small victory, a step toward rebuilding what fame and ambition had fractured. Determined to leave behind something meaningful, Trump began mentoring young leaders eager to navigate the treacherous waters of politics and fame. At first, skeptics dismissed his efforts as another publicity stunt, but his candid advice struck a chord. "You'll make mistakes," he told a group of aspiring entrepreneurs gathered around him. "And when you do, own them. Don't let pride blind you like it did me." His stories of failure and redemption resonated deeply, inspiring a new generation to pursue success with integrity rather than ego. Family dinners became less tense over time. Ivanka and Eric noticed subtle changes in their father. How he listened more than he spoke. How he asked about their lives instead of dominating conversations. "Thank you for trying," Ivanka said one evening, her voice soft but sincere. "It means a lot." Trump nodded, his eyes glistening. "I'm not perfect, but I'm here now. That's all I can promise." Though scars remained from past neglect, the renewed effort brought them closer, deepening bonds long thought irreparable. Meanwhile, the fallout from Trump's revelations continued to ripple outward. High-profile resignations rocked Washington as investigations exposed unethical practices at every level. Policy reforms followed swiftly, forcing accountability where none had existed before. "This wouldn't have happened without him," a whistleblower remarked during an interview. For all his flaws, he started something bigger than himself. Critics grudgingly acknowledged the impact, while supporters hailed it as proof of his courage. The political landscape shifted dramatically, reshaping trust between citizens and their leaders. Even some of Trump's harshest critics softened their stance. Journalist Rachel Maddow, known for her sharp critiques, admitted on air, "You can question his motives, but you can't deny the sincerity behind this transformation. Maybe we misjudged him." Her comments sparked debates across media platforms, further blurring the lines between villain and hero. Public perception evolved slowly, shaped by actions rather than rhetoric. A documentary titled The Man Behind the Mask premiered on streaming platforms chronicling Trump's tumultuous journey. Viewers watched as raw footage revealed moments of vulnerability, the tears, the apologies, the quiet resolve. "He's human," one viewer commented online. "Flawed, yes, but capable of change." Millions tuned in, captivated by the portrayal of a deeply flawed yet resilient figure striving for redemption. For the first time, audiences saw him not as a caricature, but as a complex individual navigating the cost of fame. Celebrities and politicians alike praised Trump's evolution. Oprah Winfrey tweeted, "Redemption is possible for anyone willing to confront their flaws. Let's learn from his example." Political figures echoed similar sentiments, sparking global conversations about vulnerability and growth under pressure. Even rivals conceded that his actions had inspired others to reflect on their own legacies. Mental health advocates seized upon Trump's story to highlight the importance of addressing inner struggles, regardless of status. "If someone in the spotlight can admit they're struggling, so can you," urged Dr. Samantha Lee during a televised panel discussion. Support groups formed online, using hashtags like Inner Strength and Oh Shame to encourage open dialogue about mental health challenges. Trump's journey became a catalyst for broader societal change, reminding people that no one was immune to pain or fear. As months turned into years, Trump's act of vulnerability left an indelible mark on public discourse. Conversations about transparency, accountability, and authenticity dominated headlines, influencing industries far beyond politics. "He showed us that being real takes courage," wrote cultural critic James Harper in a widely shared op-ed. "And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of leadership we need moving forward." Despite lingering divisions, there was growing consensus. Trump's legacy would forever be tied to the moment he chose honesty over ego, vulnerability over vanity. A testament to the enduring power of redemption. Donald Trump's journey served as a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between ambition and integrity, a struggle that transcended fame and fortune. Beneath the glitz and glamour, even those in the spotlight faced battles invisible to the public eye. Success isn't just about winning, Trump reflected during a rare interview months after his transformation. It's about staying true to who you are when no one's watching. His words resonated deeply, echoing the universal truth that chasing greatness often came at the cost of self-awareness. Audiences began to see their own struggles mirrored in his story, a testament to the shared human experience of striving for more while grappling with inner demons. Fame had always been a double-edged sword, amplifying both brilliance and flaws. For Trump, it magnified his charisma but also exposed vulnerabilities he'd long buried beneath layers of bravado. "He showed us what happens when you stop hiding behind perfection," remarked cultural analyst Lisa Monroe on a popular talk show. "Authenticity isn't just admirable, it's magnetic." Trump's willingness to embrace imperfection redefined how society viewed success, proving that lasting impact stemmed not from invincibility, but from genuine connection. Through his journey, Trump revealed an undeniable truth. Real strength wasn't about pretending to be untouchable. It was about confronting pain head-on and transforming it into purpose. "I used to think being strong meant never showing weakness," he confessed to a young mentee. "But now I know. It's about owning your mistakes and using them to grow." His evolution inspired countless others to face their fears openly, sparking a ripple effect of courage across industries and communities. By embracing vulnerability, Trump reshaped his legacy, turning criticism into admiration and skepticism into inspiration. "Honesty changes everything," he wrote a fan in an open letter published online. "Thank you for showing us it's okay to be flawed." Celebrities followed suit, sharing their own stories of struggle and resilience. A movement emerged, one rooted in authenticity and fueled by the belief that honesty could heal divides. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues over the ocean, Trump walked alone along the beach, the waves lapped gently at his feet, a quiet reminder of life's ebb and flow. In a world obsessed with perfection, the narrator observed softly, "Perhaps the greatest act of courage is simply being real." And with that, Trump disappeared into the twilight, leaving behind a legacy defined not by power or prestige, but by the profound courage to embrace imperfection.